Jungkook placed the alcohol bottles down on the table, beside the several empty bottles on the couch and the floor as well. He didn't know when he became like this. All those happy and beautiful memories he shared with her turned into the most painful ones. His eyes fell on the broken pieces of mirror on the floor at the other corner of the lounge he was in. The pieces are there for the last 2 months. The home was cleaned every other day, but no maid was allowed to remove those pieces. The mirror, she broke out of her anger when she yelled at him to leave her alone, that his presence suffocated her, that she hated him following her and ruining her life. How was he supposed to move on when they were so in love, when he treated her like a queen and for as long as he remembered, she spoiled him like a king as well? Something about her sitting outside in that cold weather kept bugging him. After 20 minutes, he decided to check, and so when he turned on the footage of CCTV camera, his heart came in his throat, finding her unconscious on the floor and blood all around her. The remote fell off his hand, and he rushed out to attend her. His eyes fell on her several cut marks on her wrist as he instantly wrapped a cloth around the wounds, tying them up. He picked her up and rushed to the nearest hospital. The doctors took her in the ER to treat, but they were missing another patient. Him. He was too near to get a heart attack himself. Whatever suffering he went through, he just didn't care, nor remembered at that moment. All he wanted was her to be safe. He stayed there having no idea how much time had passed by. Every second felt like a century. He was drenched in his own sweat and anxiety when the doctor came out. He stood up immediately and finally breathed properly when he was informed that wine was all right. It took him a whole hour to find the courage to face her. He was either going to hate her or get on his knees begging her to come back to him. He was such a goner when it came to her. When he entered the room, she was awake, trying to remove the bandages around her wrist. He rushed to her side, grabbing her hand, moving it off the wounded wrist. Jungkook, what are you doing? Why? Why did you save me? I was freeing you from this pain. Jungkook, stop it, Ryan. This is not the way. Ryan, then what is the way? You won't even let me explain myself. Jungkook didn't know if he was ready to take any explanation. What if it changed everything? Was he even ready to take it? Jungkook, just once. Just this once. A beam of hope appeared in her eyes, and she told him everything from the day his father came to threaten her to the day he finally stopped coming after her. How she continued to receive threats in different ways, and they were so overwhelming for her. She used to get panic attacks just by the thought of someone getting hurt, but it was not easy for her to break the heart of the only person she loved so dearly. It took Jungkook a lot of time to process the information. His father was always so loving and supportive of him. To think he was the reason behind his ruined happiness and failed life was too much to take. Jungkook, why didn't you tell me? His eyes were red when he asked her that question. Ryan, I tried to. It was my first instinct to tell you everything. But when I tried, before I could even reach you, I was informed Henry didn't return home after school. Henry was Ryan's younger brother. Ryan, they were much faster than me, Jungkook. It had been 5 hours he was missing. It was only to scare me. None of my family knows what happened, but I do. Henry was unconscious throughout the whole event. Even he doesn't know what he went through. Ryan, I got so scared, Jungkook. I got so scared before we could even do anything to save them. I was scared it would already be too late. Now that Jungkook looked at her, he found the abusive marks of nails all over her arms and neck. He didn't know how to even process the information. It was written all over her what extreme attacks she had just because of his father. His father ruined it all, and the hate that grew in his heart for his own father was uncountable. Wine, Jungkook, I'm not forcing you to get back with me. You deserve to know. You always deserve to know. But I couldn't tell you. The more you came after me, the more I loved you. But the more I ruined you too. Her eyes stared up at her own misery, hand covering her eyes, and she cried, Ryan, you were the one I loved the most, and I ruined your whole life. He took a seat beside her and held her hands. Jungkook, the only one who is at fault here is my father. And I don't know about me, but I'll make sure. Jungkook, I'll make sure he pays for every attack you had, every pain you went through, and every tear you shed. He can't play with lives like this, and he did this to his own son for some money. It made sense now. All those times he went after her to be insulted and rejected just didn't settle with him. It didn't for the situation, but it does now that he knows the truth. He wiped her tears and looked at the bandage around her wrist. Jungkook, I'll make a call. I need to make sure your family is okay. Ryan, they went abroad for a week. They're not here. He nodded a little at relief at the information. Jungkook, I'm taking you back home, and then I'll go see him myself. She stayed quiet, and so he did after that. All he wanted was to hug her and heal some of her pain she went through because of his father. He was supposed to protect her, and he couldn't help but blame himself for everything. But they could ever get back the way they were. It might take some time, but Junko was willing to try, as long as she allowed him. Her phone rang, and Junko gave it to her. It was her mother. Wine. What? Mom, you said you'll return after a week. Why are you back now? What surprise? She panicked and looked at Jungkook. They were back in country, and it killed a part inside of her, knowing they were all open to the unknown danger revolving around them. To be continued.